Hey, good morning out there and happy Friday. I thought I'd jump on here and talk about tea because I'm a tea fanatic. And this is just, I haven't done a live Facebook Live on this group for a while, so I thought I'm just checking to make sure I am on the right page. So I thought it'd be a nice time to come in. It's Friday morning. People are happy that it's Friday morning. And there I am. Awesome. So I'm going to talk about tea this morning, and that's it. So there's all kinds of benefits to tea. I know there's a lot of people that aren't like super tea fans or like super tea fanatics. But I thought maybe we could talk about it. Maybe we can get some converters. Conversions? Maybe we can get some conversions out there. So if you're tuning in, let me know. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm in Hawaii. If you couldn't tell, just kidding. Not in Hawaii. But this is, um, I got green tea going on right now. So there's quite a few different benefits to tea, like unlimited amounts of tea. Like they used tea for generations, thousands of years. And I love tea. I'm like this crazy tea fanatic. I like the loose tea, but you still find good benefits. I don't think like the processing stage is all that different from tea bags, but sometimes that they put the tea bags, like the bags that they use aren't um, healthy or clean, if you will. So there's a lot of different things that we could go over about tea. So I'm just going to tell you my experience with tea. That you could actually take like a excuse me, you could actually take like a tea course and to be like a master tea person. I don't know what you call it, master tea artist. And then there's also like a tea ceremony. And you know what is interesting to me is that it's interesting to me how long tea has been around for. And then there's so many different ways to go about not just consuming tea, but like, Alexa, turn off alarm. So I gotta tell you about my green tea. That's probably the easiest way to start. This is my tea. Alexa, turn off alarm. She's not listening to me. So this is my green tea right here. Oh, that's hot. So this is my green tea, and this is it. How do you say it's steeping? So after 3 minutes, you set an alarm. This is my lemon. So I got lemon in here. And here's my green tea. Oh, that's hot. So this is actually sencha green tea with roasted rice. And then like many times if you go to a Chinese restaurant, that's what they serve. And that's how simple that is. Look how hot that is. But so you can actually burn your tea, like if the water is too hot, you can burn your tea leaves, which isn't a good thing. I don't think a lot of people know that. So this, I usually just drink regular green tea without anything in it. You can add honey. I used to add honey. I don't add honey anymore. This is very hot. I don't add honey anymore because I don't need it. I don't really want it. And like we would consider honey a natural sweetener, but still, if you don't need the extra sugar, then there's no point in adding it. And then so if you're going to add honey, just add like a half a teaspoon or maybe a teaspoon instead of like a whole heaping tablespoon, and then you drop it in a tiny cup. So you're like, would you like some tea with your honey? I'm not sure if I can see comments on here. It's pretty quiet. Is anybody out there? Let me see if I can see comments on my phone. Or maybe it's just a quiet group today. Haven't done a live for a while, so maybe Facebook algorithms are like, we're not going to reward you for doing a live. so so if you're going to use honey in your tea, try to use raw honey and also local honey if you could find local honey. So those are two options, like tea options that I would suggest. So that means it's unpasteurized, and then which means it's not heated at a high point. So when then if it's heated super high, then it kills a lot of the properties. That's the same thing with the tea. That's why you don't want to burn the tea leaves, because if you put the water too hot, you'll burn the tea leaves, and that will ruin some of the properties. I know there's like some tea kettles out there now that like will boil to a certain degree, which is kind of crazy to me. Like, would you like green tea? So it'll boil to green tea. And if you want, I just boil mine. I don't get all fancy. I boil mine on the stove. Cup of water on the stove. Done. We also boil water to drink as well. So, oh, that's good. I love green tea. I love the roasted. So that's Sencha green tea, like I said, with roasted rice. But I also have the jasmine green tea. I really like that as well. And okay, so you could also put lemon. I don't do this too often, but you could also put a fresh squeeze of lemon in your green tea. Not like you need a demo of how to do that, but I don't do this very often. But sometimes I just change it up or spice it up a bit. You could do that. That's sour. I don't know where to put that. So that's a really nice option for tea. So I think like a lot of people, they don't drink tea. They all they do is grab like a cheap Lipton tea. Or like that rose something, red rose. I don't want to like put these companies down. It's not like my recommendation or non-recommendation is going to change their business career, but you could find better quality teas that taste better. So I think a lot of people would just get the cheapest. They get like they go to a hotel, they have like the cheap tea there, mass produced. They grab one of those, put it in their teacup, and don't really think much of it. And they like that's their tea experience, which I think is a bit disappointing because you can really enjoy a cup of tea. And like I drink tea every single morning, so I enjoy it. And there's different ways you can go about enjoying it. So green tea isn't just green tea. You can find different types of green tea, and I'm sure I know there's many more than the ones that I choose. But like I said, jasmine's one of my favorite, and then sencha, and then you have sencha with it has roasted brown rice in there. It gives it a nice little flavor. So I really enjoy that. Hi Violet. Just talking about tea this morning. So, though, does anyone else drink tea out there? We have any other tea drinkers? I feel like we'd have way more people in here if I said, let's talk about coffee. But there are really tons of health benefits to tea, especially when it comes to antioxidants. But you can find tea for all kinds of different reasons, like health purposes. But I just wanted to mention so if you're going to buy honey, try to stay away from the one. There's a guy that does really good Instagram videos. I'm sure he's on Facebook and YouTube, but I think he's called Flav City or Flav City, and he does all kinds of research on GMOs and pesticides and what's sprayed. And he did this really interesting video about honey, and there's the little bears. Like the little bears are like patented, and they are they're patented, but they're also from don't want to put any countries down either, but they're from a cheap country that produces cheap products, and then their honey is sprayed with different kinds of pesticides, herbicides, and then there's very little health properties in it, and there's properties in there that can actually harm your health. So that is something to be aware of. If you're going to buy honey, don't go and buy the cheap ones, especially the ones in the little bear. Looks like we got Noella in here. Is that how you say your name? Noella? Thanks for tuning in. And then Violet, we got a comment. How lovely. Thank you so much, Violet. Violet says, I usually have a tea in the afternoon slash evening. Love my local flavored honey from Honey Babies. Ooh, awesome. Where is that? Do you get that? Where do you get Honey Babies from, and where are they from? Super interesting. I'd like to support local too. What kind of tea do you have in the afternoon or evening? I like the green teas in the morning, and then in the evening I'll have like lemongrass, peppermint, chamomile. I really like to get into our own teas. Like I kind of put our own blends together, and I put our own blends together. So especially for different health properties or health benefits. So I've considered getting into selling teas. So we actually went to Sri Lanka, which is where Lipton tea was originated from. Now, don't quote me here um, specifically, but that um, I'm pretty sure that Sri Lanka was taken over, well, numerous times, but mainly because of their tea. And it was the British came over and they built a train, and it goes over. I think it was called the Seven Arch Bridge. I know I should be better at this since I was there, but Seven Arch Bridge is a famous bridge there, and then the train goes from one part of the island to the other, and I think it goes towards it's on one side of the island is where most of the tea is. So we actually went to these tea plantations and saw them hand pick the tea, which was pretty cool. And then so they went from, and then the train went from there all the way across to the other side where it was near a port, closer to where they were exporting the tea from. So it was pretty cool. That was a couple of years ago. Probably need to brush up on my history, but like we actually went to, it's almost like where tea originated. It was kind of cool. Like um different parts of Europe were like known for their tea, like English tea, for example. So, and I'm pretty sure that came from Sri Lanka or India or places like that because of the weather and because of how abundantly they can grow their tea leaves. We actually saw the tea plantation. Let me get to these comments and I will finish that conversation. Violet says they'll deliver. You can buy it from the artisan market or pantry, as well as I think the farm table. Awesome. Where I have to tell you, Dorothy always gives me a hard time about this, but I say artesian market. I don't know why. I always thought you read the word artesian. I don't know why. Clearly, if you read it, it's artisan. Artisan. Um, So that's interesting, Violet. We're actually looking at putting some of our products in more of those types of stores. So if you know of any, could you let me know, please? And then Noella, did I say that right? Said raw ginger tea. Ooh, I also drink a variety of David's tea. I'm a bit of a tea hoarder. I'm a tea hoarder too. Dorothy gets like all like crazy on me. You have enough tea, and I'm like, no, there's never enough tea. It's like books. I like hoard books, and I like secretly want to have like a whole library full of books, and like I just want to be around books. When I get to a library, which we haven't been able to be in a library for quite some time, but and I like I'm in a library and I like to like be around books. It's like it's like almost zen like. It's like I'm all around all this knowledge, even if I'm not reading it. I just want to sit there and be around books. So actually, I really like David's tea. I don't typically go towards personally. I don't typically go towards any like specific tea company. I like to find like I was in Calgary probably a year or so ago, but I went to Chinatown and I went and grabbed like all these different teas, and I didn't even know what they were, which probably isn't a great idea, but I didn't even know what half of them were because there wasn't English writing, and I only read English on the packages. And then I went to T&T in Calgary one time. Same thing. I like to go down aisles, just grab some tea, and try the tea. Noella says raw ginger. Oh, David, and then David's tea. But I really like David's tea. Like David's Tea is one like a special company. Like I think they do a really good job of their tea. And they actually there's a one of the, they have a nut tea I really like. And then they have we were in New York I think last year Christmas time, and we went in and we had this amazing, it was like a turmeric carrot tea, and it was so good I could eat it with a spoon. And then we went to David's Tea this year and we asked for that tea and they said it's discontinued. And I was like, what do you mean it's discontinued? It was like tea from the gods. Oh man, that's fun. Thanks for the comment, Noella. And same, and I appreciate that, Violet. Violet says, "Oh, David's tea too. I usually have a peppermint tea in the evenings. I like it. Nice." And then I love the library or even Pandora's Box and Olds. Awesome. So many. Thanks for the comments. Nice to hang out with you guys. Do a live with some people joining in. So many flavors. Their nighttime teas really help with a good night's sleep. That's awesome. Good to hear. Yeah. So I really like. Speaking of different teas, like I really like a chamomile tea in the evening. You can, I think you can find like, well, you can find. Seems like you can find any type of tea ever. And I really like to get into more knowledge about specific teas. Like there's some teas that are super cheap and some teas that are much more expensive. I know like you could look at pu'er tea, and pu'er tea is super interesting to me. Pu'er is actually, I think it's in China. I'm not sure if it's in China or Japan, maybe Japan, but it's actually a town or city, a small town. I think it's a small town called Pu'er, and they that's basically all they do is make pu'er tea, and it's um it's just so interesting to me. But these are fermented leaves. Like the leaves are fermented for years. I think they could be fermented for 20 years, which sounds a bit crazy. Like how do you have? I don't know how you do that, but I think they do that with wine. I'm not a wine person, so I wouldn't know. But I think they maybe even like whiskeys and I don't know those. I'm not an alcohol person, so I don't know any of that stuff. But I think they ferment the tea leaves for 20 years before they, and then pu'er tea is quite a bit different. Pu'er tea is like a cross between a black tea and a green tea. I don't think it's specifically one or the other, so people don't know what category to put it in. And I also read, I was reading Tim Ferriss, one of Tim Ferriss's books. I think it was maybe Tools of the Titans, but he talked about how pu'er tea and green tea combined together suppresses certain cancer cells. So that's obviously interesting as well. And I was reading a bio. I was reading this biohacking book, Dave Asprey, I think, and he talks about how. Oh my gosh, I just lost it. Come on, I was doing so well. What was he talking about? Oh my gosh, I completely lost it. Morning, Kristen. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you from our since our sugar detox group, which you did awesome on, by the way. So, oh yeah, so Kristen says, "Good morning. I love green tea. I love green tea blueberry I have." Tell me what you mean. I love green tea blueberry. So green tea and blueberries? That's interesting. I'm not sure if I tried that, but blueberries are amazing, and so is green tea. So, oh, we got more people coming in now. Hi, Anna. Thanks for joining us. Oolong tea and let's see what she says. Oolong tea and others showing promise and health benefits would be a great field to research information. Awesome. Thank you for that, Anna. I'm definitely interested in learning more about teas. And I said earlier when I kind of started that you can take like a master class. I'm kind of a self learner. Like I'll just go do like research for hours and try to find. But I've been researching teas forever. Um, but I don't know. I mean, there's so much to learn. Don't get me wrong. I'm not close to an expert, but I know there's certain health benefits. Like I said, that I've been drinking the pu'er tea and the green tea for on and off for years, which is super interesting. Oh, I know what I was saying. Dave Asprey, He was talking like his book is called Superhuman. I'm really enjoying. I'm really enjoying his book, and don't you're kidding. Oh, so there he talks about I think four pillars of death basically, and you obviously want to prevent that. So one of them is like certain types of cancer. I don't talk about that too often for certain reasons, but I think you have a 40% a chance of cancer, smaller percentage of diabetes, but I think diabetes is linked to heart disease, but then I think it's also linked to dementia, which is also one of the top four leading death causes. And then I'm pretty sure there's one or two more that he talked about. So then, if you look at tea, for example, and antioxidants, they both fight those, or the antioxidants in the tea fight those cells, and they also have been reading that they also help like how do you like they almost shave off. So we have almost dead cells that don't like we want our cells to regenerate is what we want. And I think it's so interesting. He said he wants to live till he's like 180, which I think is awesome. I've never heard that before. And he says you can reverse the aging. And I was like, I've never heard that before. And I always say, like, why do we expect to like age as we get older? Like we expect our health to decline and we expect our like eyesight to decline and like we just expect to get on pharmaceuticals as we age. And I don't think it has to be like that. So he's talking about rejuvenating cells. And the problem is some cells don't rejuvenate, but they still cause inflammation, so they don't do anything beneficial. However, you can do things like taking antioxidants, eating antioxidants that will almost shave off or get rid of. So like one is like I picture like scrubbing away the dead cells that are only causing inflammation. Of course, inflammation causes chronic pain, discomfort, sleep issues. It goes down the line. Got all kinds of questions on here. Let's see what we got going on. Kristen says it's tea by Tetley, and the flavor it's green blueberry. Gotta try it. Awesome, Kristen. I was saying before, I don't tend to go towards like Tetley tea or Lipton tea or like mainstream teas. I just don't find that I enjoy them as much. Like I said, David's tea is probably the only name brand tea I'll get. Otherwise, I just get like random loose teas for whatever reason. But I do appreciate that, and I'll definitely check it out. We got some more good mornings on here. Let me pull some names in here. Thank you guys for jumping in here with me. This was just a random live. I was like, it's Friday morning. I wanted to say hi to some people, see if anyone was around to join me. And then I was trying to think of like, well, what am I going to talk about? And I was like, I never really talk about tea, and I love tea. I'm a tea fanatic. So we literally have in my cupboard. I have dozens of jars just full of loose tea, and I'm like, I can't like drink them fast enough. I'm like, I want to try this one, and I want to try that one. And it says I have a bag of blueberry green tea, and it's very nice. Awesome. So what's with the blueberry? Oh, green tea. So when you put what tea is with the blueberries? Like what green tea is it? Sencha tea, like sencha green tea, or jasmine green tea. There's got to be dozens of different kinds of green tea. Comments are just pulling up. All teas from the Camellia sensis plant are teas. Any other tea is a tissue. Pu'ers from Camille sensis plant and is fermented. Wow, are you a tea concierge? Is that how you say that? Concierge? I don't know. Tell me more about what you know about tea. I want to learn about teas. Black tea is oxidized, where it is white tea is not. Green tea is heat processed. Well, you know what? That's awesome. Thank you. Keep it coming. We're learning about teas. I want to learn about tea. So we're actually when we were at the tea plant in Sri Lanka. I think they were talking, and I don't remember specifically, but they were talking about how, I don't know if it was white tea or green tea, but all they did, they either let the leaves grow. I think they let the leaves on the plant grow longer. Dorothy could probably help me out with this. Or in the processing stage, they let it sit on the conveyor belt longer. I don't remember. But they all came from the same leaf, which was super interesting to me. Let's see what Jen has to say. I'm getting to it, Jen. Jen says I'm a tea addict. Oh, tisane, not tissue. Stupid autocorrect. What is tisane? I'm learning so much from you guys. I had no idea. When I first started, I thought no one would be in here talking about tea. Thanks, Kristen. I hope you have a wonderful day too. Jen says I'm a tea addict and have drank tea for years. The only thing you have to look for in different tea, even green tea, is they do candy, some fruit with plain. Oh, so maybe they put some sugar on, like they put sugar on that on the fruit. I think tea from Sri Lanka. I bring back a ton each time I go. I'll bring you some next time. Your cupboard is like mine. Take a picture, Jen. Let's see your cupboard. Let's compare cupboards. Yeah, I think that there's more to it. Fruit tea. Let's see. Fruit tea. I don't even know how to say that word. I know, like, we've had this tea before, obviously, but rooibos tea, anything that is from the Camellia sensis plant. So what is this? This is like a certain type of plant. I get it. So you're saying tisane. Tisane. Hope I'm saying that right. Is a fruit tea or a rooibos. Anything that's not from the Camellia sensis plant. Interesting. So we're learning about teas. Those of you coming in and out, I kind of feel like we have our numbers go up and down. I kind of feel like some people are interested and some people are like, oh, what's this live about? And they're like, oh, tea. Oh, thanks. Not interested. They said, what is the reason caffeine from coffee is unhealthy and from tea is healthy? I've been to coffee bean farms and harvest steps depending how they process and use it certainly would affect with natural processes method. Is it beneficial? Like, look, okay, that's a tough one. Like, there are certain people that would consider coffee healthy. For us, like, our standpoint is we don't recommend. Put me on the spot here, Anna. People get very upset when I tell them not to drink coffee, but there are health benefits to coffee. I think, like, the coffee industry isn't all that clean from my, like, because they don't pay their wages well, and then you have like really low quality coffee. I think that, like, that issue kind of bothers me a bit. In many cases, it's what you put in your coffee. Like, a lot of people put like tons of refined sugar. They put those creamers and flavoring. You put the extra cream, like the milk cream in there. Like, that stuff, like, it's really hard for our body to process that stuff. So coffee alone, if you have a fair trade, cleaner coffee, healthy coffee, it does have antioxidants. And some people, research has shown that they would consider coffee healthy. But when you ask us about coffee, because of what I just mentioned, and because we get like so highly addicted to it, because there's withdrawal symptoms, we recommend staying away from coffee. So there you are. Look out, coffee lovers. Coffee lovers get so mad. It's not usually from our audience though. Like, our audience usually knows us and knows us. We come from a positive, caring mindset, but it's like the random people that don't really know us, and they're like, how dare you talk about coffee like that? You have no idea what you're talking about. So don't get me wrong, we're always looking for like different sides. Like I said, there's antioxidants in coffee without question. You can find better coffee. And if you have like a cup, sure. But if you're getting like Tim Hortons coffee, you're dumping a bunch of sugar in it, and you need 6 of them just to get through the day. is probably not that's probably not the best idea. Switch to matcha. Yeah. Um. So I actually, do you know anything about matcha? So I have matcha is like a really fine powder, and even so earlier, I don't know if you guys saw, I use my steeper. I don't even know that's what it's called, but I use that for my green tea. But I've tried to put matcha tea in, and it's such a fine powder; it goes like right through. And I know there's a bunch of health benefits to matcha, but it's Hey, Dana, I didn't know you were in here. Thank you for joining us. Are you secretly watching? Did you just jump in here? I don't know matcha. Like I know, like I understand the benefits, but it tastes really bitter. And I tried it in hot water, and it's like a powder. It goes through my strainer, steeper, and it doesn't taste very good at all. And I think, and I think that's um, and I think that's why a lot of people are like, oh, green tea or matcha tea, or they're just like, no thanks. Let's see what we got here. Morning, Jane. Jane jumped in here. And then get a little bit of delay here. I'm sneaky, very sneaky. Have you seen Mr. Deeds, Dana? I think you underestimate my sneakiness. I love that movie. It makes me laugh so much. Noah says there's a tea shop in Banff. Banff Tea Shop. They make amazing blends. I love lavender, rose hips, and elderberries in teas. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. I've never been to that one, I don't think. Let us know what teas you guys like if you're hanging out here with us. Um, Dana says, what about decaf? I've been trying to switch to decaf. Swiss water process. I mean, like, decaf wouldn't have the. I'm pretty sure I have some from there. From the you talking about Banff, Jen? Jen, what's your favorite kind of tea? Decaf. I've been trying to switch to decaf Swiss water process. I think that's where you pour it on top. Look, I'm not like a coffee expert by any means. I'm just telling you like what how we feel about coffee, and I think there's better routes. Like put less sugar in your coffee, buy fair trade coffee. Like you can still have your coffee. Um, you just have to understand. You just have to understand that there's um, negatives when you're drinking coffee. Like if you're drinking coffee, you have to add more magnesium to your diet. If you're drinking coffee, it's a diuretic, so it takes water from your body, so you have to add more water. So you can have your coffee, whatever it is, like whatever type of coffee you want. Decaf doesn't have caffeine, so you have like less jitters. Like if I have a cup of coffee, I like get like jittery and like my insides they like vibrate and it's a very uncomfortable feeling. So I that's one of the reasons I stay away from coffee. But like so you'd have would have less caffeine, which is a good thing by having decaf. So great, that's a great point, Dana. But there's always better options. There's always like you can still have your coffee, you can still have your cake and eat it too, but just understand there's it's not one of those things that I'm like go that I would recommend. It's not like Drew approved. I wouldn't be like, hey, go and have that. It's gonna help your health. And I gotta tell you, this book has been so inspiring. It's like even for myself, like I always feel like we can get better in life, and I feel like we're in a society where it's like you should expect to age. Like oh, and I really can't stand it with like friends or family or people and around me or ever like oh well you're getting older, and I'm like what does that mean? Like it doesn't mean anything. It's offensive. Like I'm getting older, I'm getting better. Like I think we expect our health to decline when we're 60, 70, 80. So I thought it was so interesting when this guy was like, I'm going to live, like, my goal is to live till I'm 180. That means that at um, 80 years old, you're not even half your life. It used to be like we used to live a very short life. If we had any type of disease, if there was any kind of sickness in a village or a town, people would die at like very young ages as children. They would die when they were like 25. I think the life expectancy age is continuing to get older and older. And people like here at the beach, I know they're 80 years old and they're playing beach volleyball. They're riding their bike, and like, and then so think of that mindset because of the environment you're around. But then, like, I know for in Alberta, because there's less activity and the weather is colder, it's hard to get out and enjoy yourself. But I know people like hunk as they get older, they hunker in and they're like, "Oh, it's time to retire. It's time to stop working. It's time to slow down." Like, what does that mean? Like, I need to slow down for what? What are you slowing down for? So, and like, I'm really passionate about this subject, of course, and I want people to understand that you can regenerate cells and you can improve your health as you get older instead of just expecting like, oh, well, I'm getting older, so may as well sit in this rocking chair and wait for death to arrive. Like, like it's not like Dana says, it's a mindset. Like of course, it's like one person says that they're 30 years old and they're like, oh, I'm gonna like we saw it in high school. We were like 25 years old and people were getting married, having kids. Nothing wrong with this. They buy a house, get married, have kids, then they're overweight, then they start to lose hair, and then the guys I played football with in high school, kids that I played with the park at in junior high, they would sit on their couch and drink beer until midnight, and then they'd get up and go to work and hate their life. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that if that's what you want, but understand that there's a different way to live. Let's see what we got here. Noella says, I have to get ready for work. Well, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy your day. I'm not going to hang out here too much longer. I just wanted to jump on here. Maybe 5 or 10 more minutes. So dissolve your matcha in water or milk. You have to whisk it, but it will separate a bit. You can get flavor. You can get flavors which make it delicious, or mix it with other things. Put it in your smoothie. But so are you just taking it for the health benefits? This is matcha we're talking about, those of you that might have missed this. So I got this bag of matcha. Someone gave me a bag of matcha because they're like, I know you love tea. So it's like this giant, it's quite a big bag. And I don't know what to do with it. Every time I try to eat it, I'm like, ugh. So I don't really know what to do with it. But so do you only eat it for the health benefits? Because like for the tea, for example, like I really enjoy the taste of tea and the health benefits. But when it comes to like the matcha, I'm like, I don't know if I could. I suppose I could try. I'll try a bit harder to get it in. Jen says black tea is definitely a given for so many places in Sri Lanka. I gotta tell you a quick story about that. I did find some really good green ones last time I was there. Here I would buy David's tea from local markets, and Epic here has a turmeric ginger tea. Oh, I really like turmeric and ginger together. Um, let's see what Anna says. I like Anna's always like full of excitement and positivity. I like when I see your name pop up, Anna, for comments. Oh, I saw Amy jump in over here as well. Yes, health benefits and a slow release caffeine. Very interesting. So again, that's the matcha we talked about. And then Anna says, yes, I agree with you, Drew. I'm offended by the thinking of expecting to get frail and decrepit as one ages. We can get better when we know better. Yes, I love that. And yeah, it's so crazy to me. Like, why do we just expect to, like, so if you pick this was interesting. So I did this just yesterday. Picture someone that's 90 years old. Go ahead. Picture someone that's 90. So for me, like I expect someone that's like a bit hunched over, they're skinny, they're frail, they don't really move. Maybe they're sitting in a chair or a walker. So I feel like that's what we envision of ourselves as we get older. And people don't want to age. Like they don't want to get older. They don't want to age. Like I don't for sure, but I want to change my mindset. Like I don't want to expect to like get decrepit and not be able to function properly as I get older. But there's things that we can do now to prevent these things. And if you're looking at, like, if you expect to live till you're like 70 or 80, great. Like when you're 80, you probably are going to be in that stage of what we most of us picture right now. However, if you expect yourself to live till you're like, let's get crazy, at like 150 years old, then you have to be. And that, just the last couple of days I thought about this, and I have like a different mindset. Like I feel like almost that there's hope. Like I don't have to like expect like, oh well, I only have so many years left. But if you're not even close to half your age, like half of your age, like people, there's history that has shown people have lived till about 130 unofficially. Like 130 is a long time. So when you're 80 years old, you have a lot more time left. You don't have 5 or 6 years left if you take care of your health. But of course that's a stretch. You tell that to most people and they think you should be stuck in a rubber room. I wanted to tell you, so Jen, matcha tea has so many amazing benefits. I heard that, Amy. We've been talking about matcha tea a bit, and it's been a tough one. Well, I mean, tough one for me to try. I haven't really enjoyed it very much. So, okay, so looks like we have some nice comments here. So, matcha tea has a slow release of caffeine for about 4 to 5 hours without the crash of coffee. Awesome. So Jen was talking about Sri Lanka, and so I gotta tell you, so everywhere they go, they drink tea, mostly black tea in Sri Lanka. So everywhere they go, they say, tea, like they like you get to a gathering, and then they say like, would you like some tea? Or they just bring the tea out and they put it in front of you. But they put they put quite a bit of sugar in there, and I'm not sure, Jen, you can help me out if they put, I'm not sure if they put milk in there. It hasn't been that long. I feel like I should remember this. I think it's just sugar in their tea. Anyways, they bring you the tea, and it was like the first week. Like we were there for a month, and the first, well, maybe it wasn't quite that long, but it was like 4 or 5 days, and you were drinking tea a couple times a day, and we really liked tea, but there's always sugar in the tea, and we don't like consume refined sugar, or we try to avoid sugar. So I wasn't really feeling that well, and every time I would drink the tea, I would get like a little bit of a buzz, and then like I never really felt good after. So I said to Dorothy, I was like, I can't take the sugar in the tea anymore. Like I can't do the sugar. So so we started saying, so we told our friend Dylan, we're like, hey, we can't have the tea, because they wouldn't, like in North America, in most cases, they bring you the tea, and then they put the sugar next to it, or the honey, or the artificial sweetener, or whatever. But in Sri Lanka, they mix it in there, and then they give you the tea. So I was like, Dylan, I can't handle the sugar anymore. So then he would started saying they would rush, say as soon as we would start coming, they would like rush to get the tea together. So Dylan would have to be like, hey, like, no, don't put any sugar in their tea, just plain tea. So Dylan's mom, who was with us very closely, like every day almost, she was such a lovely lady. She'd always like wake up and she'd get us tea ready, and she'd always have this big smile on her face. And then we started saying plain tea. Like we would like, she's like, tea? Like tea? So in the morning she'd like be all bright and cheery, like tea. So she'd go get the tea, and then we'd say plain tea. So now every morning she would wake up and she'd say plain tea, and I was like, and she's like, and then she didn't speak any English, so she'd just say plain tea. And I was like, for the first couple of days, I was, and we were just like, yes, please. Like, I don't even know what she wanted. And then we realized she was bringing tea every time she said plain tea. And I was like, Dylan, I thought she was speaking her language. I was like, Dylan, what does plain tea mean? Like plain tea, like plenty. Like, what does that mean in your language? And he says, it doesn't mean anything. I'm like, what's she saying? And then he said, she's saying plain tea. Do you want plain tea? So now it's a joke for us. Like when we make tea at the house, we're like, plain tea? Would you like some plain tea? I don't know if anyone found that as close to as funny as I did. Okay, Jen's helping out here. She said milk tea is what they make a lot, which is amazing, but a treat. They do being sugar in either milk or milk powder because it's a treat for guests. They always give their yes, they all, and that was a tough one as well. They give us like sugar treats, and it was, you know what's funny, Jen? I don't know if you had this experience, but they would give us like, it would be like deep fried sugar, like deep fried like pastries, which was a really difficult concept. Um, to like wrap your head around. So it was like deep fried sweet pastries, and then it was sugar on them. But they didn't really eat them. It was just for guests, and we didn't really want them because it didn't make us feel very good. Like they tasted fine, like quite a bit different than what we're used to. Um, but they wouldn't eat it. They're like made all this, and they would make a lot. They make all these like sugary deep fried pastry things. I don't know if they're deep fried. I don't think they actually have a deep fry. I don't know how they got that batter on there. Maybe just dipped in oil. Um, but at any rate, they wouldn't eat it, but they would want us to eat it, and we're like, we don't want to eat it either. But we didn't want to like hurt their feelings, or like it was really polite, and they're such generous, humble, amazing people. Jen says we need to have story time. We need to have story time out Sri Lanka. I had to do the same thing to my fiance's mom when we had to tell her we would mix our own tea every morning. Autocorrect really makes it hard to read comments. Sugar is considered a luxury in Sri Lanka. It's given to a lot of guests. Those treats I barely would eat either. Yeah. So we actually went. So we were in Sri Lanka, and that was where like Lipton started. It was called Lipton Seat, and we took this little cart up this winding mountain, and we're at the top, and you could actually see they had like monuments and plaques, and it was like super interesting. It's so cool. One of my favorite parts of visiting was going to the tea plantations. And it says I know people in their upper 90s that still walk tall and work out every day. Ooh, at taking steps to improve. Awesome. And tell a 20-year-old that asks, how do you look so good at 98? Get off your butt and do some work. So that's what I aspire to every day. That's awesome. What a great story. And like I said, so we talked about tea, and I wanted to talk about the benefits. I didn't get there too much, but I'm going to wrap things up here. But there's tons of health benefits to teas, and there's different kinds of teas, and there's a new tea I'm going to try. Actually, I'm going to go buy it today. And actually, I got some. I wrote a note here because I've never heard of it before. I was just doing research, and it's called Ashitaba. Has anyone heard of that? So it's also good for digestive issues, and then some people use it for hay fever. But this is, some research has proven that it can help scrub off those dead cells that don't do anything, only cause inflammation. So I'm going to start taking that one. I'm going to start drinking that one. The difficult part with tea is that, like, I feel like anytime you work from like the inside out, so a lot of people like have chronic pain. So like we know this. You like from some of our products, you put a cream on, and it's great. Like you can feel the benefits almost right away. Um, I just read Anna's comment here. You can feel the benefits right away, right away. But when it comes to like teas, antioxidants, so like antioxidants fight free radicals. I don't know. I think many of you may have heard me talk about this before, but free radicals are some things that are out of our control. So like it could be the smog that we breathe in. It could be the stress that we're continually surrounded by that breaks us down and wears us down. It's definitely alcohol, tobacco, processed food, refined sugar. Um, those are all free radicals that tear our body down and makes us look older. They, like the sugar, causes an increase in osteoporosis. It eats at our bones, for example. I actually wrote this on my Instagram, and I said it's so interesting to me how people will look at the short term. Like they know that short term, maybe coffee with sugar in it, cookies, chips, that will give them a little boost of energy. Maybe that helps them get through the day. Like energy drinks, my gosh. If you want an instant disruption of your digestive system, drink an energy drink. That will do it every time. Even if you don't feel it immediately, that's going to disrupt a whole lot of things inside. So, but people will take that instant energy for a bit of relief so they can get through the day. And I can only imagine knowing that that's going to reduce their quality of life in the long term and shorten their years of life at the end. It's crazy. It's mind-boggling to me when I think about it. I'm like, that sugar that you're consuming daily is going to shorten your lifespan, and people are still like, "Nah, I'll deal with that now." It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Like sugar causes inflammation. It causes issues in our joints. Like I said, it eats at your bones, and people are still like, "Bring it." Let me put some sugar in my coffee, and they don't think about that. So it's a bit disturbing. Anna says, make sure you let us know about that Ashitaba tea. Yeah, I will let you know when I'm gonna get it today, I think. So, Ashitaba is also good for gout. So, and I have like, what's funny is, okay, I'll tell you this because most of them won't watch anything about health, especially about what we do. But I grew up with a group of friends in Calgary. It's where I grew up, went to high school, and we still talk and we still hang out when we can. And a good number of them have gout. I'm not laughing at the gout because it's horrible. A good number of them have gout, but they're like meat and potatoes guys. Have like steak a couple times a week, beer, like alcohol, and a good number of them, probably half of them, have gout, and they don't connect the two. And if I said anything, they'd be like, "You're a whack job." But of course, like the gout has to do with their diet. So it's like always interesting to me how people don't connect the dots. Like obviously, I have never experienced gout in my life. I don't drink very often. I don't eat red meat. We eat plant based. Never seen gout in my life, for example. Then you have another population, like almost a controlled population of alcohol, of red meats, for example, of that different type of lifestyle, and gout is very apparent, like it's a regular conversation. So, anyways, I was saying that because this ashitaba, ashitaba tea is also known to help with gout. But try to tell someone to have ashitaba tea that has gout and lives a certain way and eats a certain way, they're gonna be like, something wrong with you. um, and it's so. Anyways, I'm going to experiment. And what I was saying with the teas is like it builds from the inside out, and it like rejuvenates cells. But you can't actually feel your cells rejuvenated, and you can't see yourself looking younger. Like I'm pretty fortunate when people always like, oh, how old are you? When they know my age, they're like, oh my gosh, I thought you were 10 years younger. And I'm like, that's always a nice compliment. But it's because of the cell, like the food that we're putting in our body, and we try to live stress free and we work out often. So, excuse me. There's all reasons for that, but like I said, people don't put those two together, and we're looking for instant results. So you're like, oh, this tea is going to help rejuvenate some cells. Well, if I don't see it personally, then I'm not going to keep doing it. Anna says, and not only will it shorten your lifespan, but it will often this cause a terrible, painful life at the end. Yeah, and that it's that quality of life that I mentioned is that you're going to lower your quality of life, and you're going to shorten your lifespan. But it's okay because this short term fix is going to be okay for me. Like, I don't really get it. I don't understand it. But that's it. That's what I got for you. I did want to talk about tea more, but I always get on like different tangents. I used blueberry tea, blueberry tea in the past. That helps with your eyesight. Um, I use chicory root tea that helps with digestion. I mean, it's just endless. My first live. Hi, Anne. How are you doing, Ann? You just said my first live, but I'm just wrapping things up here. Thank you so much for joining us. Are you checking out our first live, or are you doing your own first live? We just talked about tea. I had a really nice conversation with our audience here, so thank you everyone for joining me and offering some information. I learned a lot today too, and that's why I love our audience, because you guys, like, we're not experts. I don't feel like think we're experts at anything. Like, we just live a certain way. We try to live healthy, and then we portray what we learned through our research and through working with different individuals, how to improve your life. My book, Detoxify Yourself. Like, I wrote it because I have my own. I had my own horrible digestion issues, and I had my own health issues, and I wanted to share. Um, and I wanted to share with other people that I actually made a difference, and like, I used to have these horrible pains, and like the doctors, of course, they didn't know anything. They tried to put me on antibiotics, and I was like, no thanks. So they couldn't really help me out, so I had to help myself. So I documented how I helped myself in Detoxify Yourself, and my pains went, like my stomach issues went away. Like, I had severe stomach issues. I would be in a fetal position on the ground in the bathroom once or twice a month, and no one could help me. This happened for about 6 months, and I would just be like excruciating pain. So I started to clean up my diet, and I started to pay attention to my environment. Started putting antioxidants in my body. Like, all the things that we talk about is because of what we've experienced. And you could look at any expert down the line, and like, they're in their field because they've dealt with it themselves in most cases. So, checking you out. Thanks, Ann. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Ann. And then Anna says, thanks, Drew. Always learn something on these chats. You're welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm going to let you go. I know some of you have to get on with your day, and I appreciate you joining me for however long you can. This was a random Friday live. We have our fitness family group. I know, like, Ann's in our fitness family group. I'm not sure who else is. Jen is in our fitness family group. We do. So if you're interested in more of these lives or more of these conversations, we're actually doing a theme week for 10 days next week. It's going to be fun. That's going to be around kombucha, I'm pretty sure, because we got lots of questions. Improving your digestion that way. That's a different group. That's a paid group, but it's a membership group. And we also do fitness. We do fitness workouts. We do 2 live workouts a week, and then we go live every Sunday. And then Dorothy does a cooking workshop every Monday. So we are super active in that group, which is probably why I haven't come live on our public group as often as I would like to. But maybe we used to do these every Friday. We used to do these every single Friday morning. So I'm playing with the idea of starting that up again. And this was a good. Anna says, Ann. We got Anna, Amy. Ann says, Jen is my girl. Awesome, man. Amy says, sounds interesting. I have a lot of stomach issues, digestion, learning to eat, drink better. Yeah, Amy, and that's what we talk about. That's what our whole workshop is going to be in our fitness family. It's going to be how to make kombucha, different kinds of kombucha, different forms of improving digestion. Like I talked about, that chicory root. I'm going to experiment with that ashitaba tea. That's supposed to help with that digestion as well. There's food digestion. That's what we do. We talk about energy and digestion, and people come to us for those reasons. Bowel movements, indigestion, constipation, like, it's all part of it. And once you start to get your digestion on track, you will begin to start to have more energy, feel better about yourself, have more confidence. Dorothy talks about how she wouldn't go to any restaurant without sitting close to the bathroom, because she knew if she didn't eat the right foods, she'd have to go immediately. So that's something that we can definitely help out with. My mom's in here. Good morning, Mom. Thank you for joining me. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful Friday. If you have any questions about our topic, shoot me a message. Any interest in our fitness family? It's an amazing group. Shoot me a message about that. Otherwise, have a wonderful day. Happy tea drinking. Enjoy your plain tea. And I'd like to see some pantries out there. A couple pantries full of green tea, or full of teas. Take care, everyone.